Blog Talk Radio.
Tezlyn Figaro.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is August 23rd, 2014, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to part 2 of the Volunteer Shine Time with the volunteers of Derek Shine Wallace, who is currently running for Orange County Commissioner District 6. For more information on Derek, you can visit www.derekwallacefordistrict6.com. On last week, I had an opportunity to speak with 4 volunteers from the campaign. We had a chance to discuss how they feel about their candidate, Derek Wallace, and personal friend, why they volunteer countless hours, and how they believe he is the man to fix District 6. With only 4 days left before the votes are counted, today I'll be speaking with 3 more volunteers who have dedicated countless hours to the Derek Wallace campaign. We have Dana Chestnut, who's on the line, as well as Angela Keene and Danny Cummings. You can follow this show at any time at www.tezlynfigaro.com. Go back, hear the replay at any time, share with your friends, share on Facebook, share in Twitter and all of your social media contacts. But I just wanted to take a moment to speak with these 3 volunteers who have dedicated constant time to Derek Wallace and why they've done those 3 things. And so we're just going to use about 30 minutes of your time today. We appreciate you stopping by the show, taking a moment to see the strength behind the massive recruiting efforts that Derek Wallace has made there in the community as a longtime resident in Orlando. I'm going to first welcome Danny Cummings to the show. Okay. Appreciate him for taking a moment and out of his day. So welcome, Danny. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Now, you've known Derek Wallace since he was 4 years old, so you certainly know the true Derek Wallace behind the man that people see on billboards and mailers. And just wanted to ask you, just a very casual conversation, why are you volunteering for his campaign, and, what strength do you see in him, and have you seen in him since you've been knowing him over this long period of time?
Well, put it this way. I've known Derek, like you said, since I was 4 years old. That's about 55, 56 years ago, and he's a man of integrity. He's a business owner. He's a friend, and he's a community leader there. He understands what's going on in that area and downtown area. So that's why I think Derek Wallace is the person to be elected for District 6.
Well, we did some advertisement that was showing Derek Wallace and his humble beginnings and how he has, literally had to climb up to the ranks of the position that he's in now. There's a lot of stereotypes with Derek being, obviously he was very successful, and unfortunately people associate success with, I guess, not coming from the same place that others do. With District 6 having a issue, some concerns with poverty, not everyone in the district, but certainly having some areas that have not been attended to. You knew Derek Wallace as a kid. Can you tell me how his humble beginnings began, and how him reaching the status to one of the largest construction firms in the state of Florida, how you see him as earning, that privilege to get to that point?
Yeah, Derek came up. Derek didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth. He came up like each and every one of us today. He lived in the project. He went to Holden Street Elementary School. He went to Jones. He grew up in a neighborhood that he's trying to represent today. So it's not like he had a silver spoon. People had plenty of money. So he worked hard to get where he is today, and he's maintaining where he is today. So I think that's showing progress of a great man, someone that can lead the city of Orlando.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to shift right. Stay right there with me, Danny. Thank you so much for your insight. I'm going to shift directly to Dana Chestnut and kind of tie him into this discussion because Mr. Chestnut has known Mr. Wallace from a business relationship, and all of the work and effort and time and that goes into actually running a business. So, Mr. Chestnut, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
My pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. Can you go into a little bit of Derek's business side and how those things translate into being an effective commissioner?
Well, I think there's a direct correlation when you think about someone of Derek's stature operating one of the largest construction companies in the state of Florida, not just minority firms, but for the state itself, and having the ability to manage a staff throughout the state in different parts of the Southeast. In leading that team, he shows how he can affect change, because demonstrating a very small company like he started with, growing to the size that it has grown to. One thing you got to make clear, and you measure a construction company, is its ability to gain experience, capacity, and a balance sheet. Derek has done all of that, and I think he can bring the same vision back to District 6.
Now, in the construction business, it's obviously, particularly for minority-owned businesses, it's not an easy task with getting bonded, and then once you get bonded and you get the contract and you go through the RFP and you go through the process of being a sub and then a prime, and then you still have to continue to fight, throughout the project. There's been a lot of projects that have been shut down with the inability to maintain the funding or to stay on task, because as you know, it's very task sensitive with deadlines. Heard a few stories, one from Barbara Young that really applauds Derek for his effort in Jones High School and how a lot went into that project and, fighting for resources and, trying to get those things accomplished. In business, in your relationship with him, how have, I guess, you seen Derek, really take a position and a stand on things, and why he's had to be so tough in that business? Because a lot of people see Derek as a very tough and firm person, which he is. He does have a soft side. But can you express to us, the reasoning behind that in such a competitive market?
Well, none of these deals are given to you. As you indicated, there's an RFP for each of these deals that come into these different communities. There's going to be a bidding process. So it's not like you're simply selected to come in and do a job, particularly when you're working with state and different municipalities. There's always going to be a bidding process, and you're going to have to compete against your fellow construction companies. So in doing so, you have to be mindful of your competition. And you can't think that just because you show up, you're going to win. You got to play to win, and you got to position yourself to present the best effort, the best team that's out there. And by being the best team, it takes a lot of hard work. We don't see any team that strives to be number one or ultimately is the best team or company by doing so by, leaving to work at 5 o'clock every day. You put in a lot of long hours. You put in a lot of study, and you have to be creative in your marketing. And he does those things. And I've seen him be effective in different means in the projects that we've worked on together. There's one in particular that was in a minority neighborhood that had some shortfalls in its budget, and the funding was a little delayed. He stepped up and used his own personal funds to keep that project moving. He didn't have to do that. He did that because he believed in the project. And because of his effort, the project was able to move along.
Right. And those are the things, Mr. Chestnut, that people don't know. Derek has been criticized by opponents for buying up the district simply because of his marketing techniques with the signage, the mailers, and, really putting forth a strong marketing campaign. And I think that does come from, it's no think about it. I'm an entrepreneur. I started a business from zero to 300 employees, having to get that business on my own, and it took that type of hustle that you talked about. It took, really having to go above and beyond and saturating the market. And his opponents have used that as a negative thing, but unless those opponents understand what it's like to start from ground zero with your own funding, your own your own marketing, really being the person that develops the strategy from zero to end, I think that's been an unfair misconception. It only makes sense for him to flood the mailboxes and flood the streets and then to build a team of volunteers, recruiting over several hundred volunteers, I think says a lot about his leadership and ability to build a business, to build a community, and to hopefully in turn build that community into more advocacy. And that's one of the things that I find a misfortune with stereotypes with him. So I do thank you for chiming in with that. You have something on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's unfortunate, but you know what? In my opinion, it's a compliment. because it's a testament to his vision, his ability to think outside the box. If you want someone to represent the district appropriately, it's going to take someone that has the ability to think outside the box, not deliver back to you what you've had for the last 20 years. So when you can bring a creative approach to affecting change, that'll make folks sit up and listen to what you got to say. You can't come along with the same stance on every issue that we've had to date. We need someone with vision. We need somebody who's willing to stand up and who's willing to affect change.
Right, and speak up. That's very important.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dana, for that business perspective. Please stay on the line with me. I'm going to toggle now to Angela King, who has been tirelessly spending efforts on campaigning for Derek Wallace, just as everyone else, and she shared with me a testimony with her actually on the phone bank. For those who are listening, Derek Wallace gave me and two other minority-owned businesses an opportunity to produce over 10 different commercial spots. We certainly want to thank him for that. There's a lot of politicians out there. I read everyone's expense report, and I always like to see, where they actually spend the resources that they earn, that they raise to win an election. And so I want to personally, again, thank Derek Wallace for giving my company, Tezlyn Figaro Communications Group, as well as CDP Orlando and Fusion Media, the opportunity to convey his message. One of the messages that we were able to produce was a commercial by the name, with a lady named Miss Dunbar. Ms. Dunbar spoke about how she just so happened to meet Derek through Meals on Wheels with Derek knocking on the door, and that turned into a testimony. And speaking with Angela, Angela told me how she just happened to speak to Miss Dunbar. So I want to welcome Angela to the show. Thank you so much, Angela, for joining me, and share with the listeners how these coincidences, happen, how they come to life, how you happen to speak to Miss Dunbar and we happen to put her on TV and she happened to meet Derek. And I think those are the connections that we're talking about when we say community builders. So I'm going to give you a moment to share how you met Miss Dunbar and why that has encouraged you to continue to volunteer for Derek Wallace.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you.
I was one of the phone bank team members, and it was during the very beginning of our phone banking, and actually one of the first calls that I made. And when I called her, I greeted her by her name and introduced myself and gave her the intro on the candidate that I was supporting, and she stopped me in the middle of my little spiel and said, "Can I give you a testimony?" And I was like, "Sure." And so she says, "People don't know what this man does, and every chance I get, I'm going to tell it." And she began to tell me how he came to her house serving the Meals on Wheels, and she said he was a very friendly person, and he, spent time with her, listened to her. And then she said she recognized his face, and she said, "I think that's the guy that has a construction company. I'm going to ask him the next time he comes about my bathroom door." So the next week when he came and delivered her meals, she asked him if he would take a look at her bathroom door because she was in a wheelchair. And she couldn't get through the door because, and I can attest to that because I live in a small home too, and the door is very narrow. And she said, "I can't get my walker or my wheelchair through this door." And so he looked at the door and he says, "Oh, I'll get someone over here to take care of that." And so she stopped him, and she's telling me this. She stopped him and said, "Well, how much is it going to be? Because I'm a senior citizen and I'm on a fixed income and I have to pay you on time." And so he said, "Oh, no, that's on me." And she said the next day someone was at her house taking measurements, and the few days after that the door was completely done. And she was elated because from what she also told me was that she had not been able to get in there to actually take a bath.
Wow. Well, I mean, why is it, and I'm going to go ahead and unmute both Dana and Danny, and if you want to chime in on this, just, I'll pick up whoever speaks first. I have everyone unmute on the line. I'm going to ask, when someone goes in their pocket, I guess, to help, why has that been demonized? I mean, is it better to wait to go ask the government to do it? Is it better to wait to go through a grant process? Is it better to wait to go ask for donations? I guess I'm just confused. When someone gives, I guess that's why the Bible asks us to give tithes, because it's one thing to give somebody else's money, but even the Lord himself wants to know, what are you willing to give yourself from your own earnings? So I'm just going to ask, why has that been demonized? That's been the number one thing that his opposition has continued to stress to people, that, Derek is successful, and I guess they don't understand, Mr. Chestnut, that with success comes a lot of bills as well. So there's many things that Derek could use his resources for. So I'm just going to throw it out there to anyone, either Dana, Angela, or Danny. When you hear those stories about Derek going into his own pocket, why do you think that's something that we as African Americans tend to demonize when we should be celebrating that?
I think it shows his integrity and his love for the people also. I know I have a testimony for myself. When I was struggling and didn't have a place to stay, Derek put me in his house. I lived in Derek's home over a year. It was a vacant home he had, and I lived in that home over a year. Once I got on my feet, I tried to give him money. He would not take a penny from me, and I was there over a year. You understand? So I know this man's heart, and I know his heart is for the people of Orlando.
Wow.
Tezlyn, I would just say that haters hate. That's what they do. And because they don't have the integrity that Derek has, nor do they even have the desire to do the things that Derek has done. I listen to other candidates, and I've never heard any testimonies of not nowhere near the magnitude of Derek's.
And I think it has a lot also to do with having a heart to affect change and to help people. When I met Derek, I didn't have an idea of the type of success he had been able to achieve through his company. Only through my own research that I understand, the importance of what this man has accomplished and the size of his company. And in saying that, it was because he was humble in what he's achieved. He wasn't one who got out and bragged about it. He would never tell you how successful he has been. I, in fact, tried to encourage him to do that because I thought I'd bring about more opportunities this way. But that's not his approach. He's very humble. He's grateful. But he recognizes the importance of being the right type of role model. And to me, I view him as a mentor because I respect what he's been able to do, and I respect that he's still where he is. He wants to be in the community. He could live anywhere in the city of Orlando he wants to. He chooses to stay where he is. And I think that, again, represents where his true heart is because he cares. And it's not about making money, moving somewhere else, and forgetting about where you came from.
Right. And certainly if he wanted to buy the election, he could have bought it a long time ago. I'm going to pick up another line that we have on the line of, I believe, another volunteer who has called in. I'm picking up the last four digits of 0687. Are you there on the line? Hello, 0687. You're on the line.
This is Kevin Lewis.
Okay, hello, Mr. Lewis. I have you on the line with Danny, Angela, and Dana, and wanted to get your quick testimony on why you are supporting Derek Wallace and why you are one of his campaign volunteers.
Yes, I'm a high school football coach in Orlando, and I've actually known Derek Wallace for a long, long time. However, he's been very supportive of Jones High football program and has given of his time and his resources to us. We were in need of, we're always trying to figure out ways to feed these kids because at our school, It's a Title I school, and a lot of times we have kids who are homeless. And you'll never know that these kids are homeless, and they're also athletes. We've sent them to college, and it's been a blessing to have folks like Jerry Wallace helping us out. We were in need of a deep freezer because, we try to keep food so that our kids are able to eat. And, although Jones High does a great job of having food programs in school, these are athletes, so they need even more. And he was able to, he heard about that we needed a freezer. It wasn't even a call. It was like he got it secondhand and reached out and basically told us to pick it out and gave us the gift card to go get it. And I was able to go out and purchase it, and it's, been outstanding for us, and we're constantly still able to do more and to feed our team based upon his kind heart and his donation.
Wow, and he's done other things with Jones High School. We also documented, like I said earlier, Barbara Jones talking about how Derek, went in his own pocket and funded the Jones High Band to the Thanksgiving parade, Macy's Day Parade, for over $25,000 after going to various leaders in the community who did not support that effort. And I want to make clear, like I said on last week, Derek certainly isn't getting in office just for more people that, for him to write personal checks. Obviously, only one person bank account can go so far. But it appears that his ability to be able to go in his own pocket to understand that the need is there and to solve the problem is the fixer that he is saying he will be based on experience. Finding the resources that are necessary, just like in construction projects like Mr. Chestnut spoke about, moving those implements to those who need them right away, and then in turn, allowing his works to speak for itself. And like we've all said, and even on last week, a lot of people do not talk. Derek is not one to talk about a lot of what he's done, and he's been unfairly portrayed. And so this is why I thought it was so important to hear directly, from the community. And me not growing up in Orlando and just moving there in 2007, starting a business, having to get to know, everyone from, just being a total stranger. Derek has always been supportive of me, if nothing else, to, have a listening ear to the issues that I had, with going through owning and maintaining a business. So I know Jones High School is important. It's so important that I said I could never run for office because it is absolutely required that you go to Jones High. So I appreciate you chiming in with the Jones High story. Please stay right there, Mr. Lewis. I'm going to pick up another line, I believe. We have another volunteer on the line. This is the last 44382. Are you on the line? Hello, last 44382. Okay, maybe they put me on hold. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone, Mr. Lewis, Danny, Angela, as well as Dana Chestnut, and certainly thank you all for calling in. We're going to go through just quickly because I did promise about 30 minutes of your time. I'm going to go through and just ask that each one of you give a 1 minute or 30 seconds, whatever you feel you need to say, to encourage people to go to the polls on Tuesday, August 26th. Voter turnout is low across the board, which was predicted. Anytime you have a local primary race and, not a huge front runner in a major race such as mayor, we know that race is pretty much over. The governor race has not generated the get out to vote that it should have. We expect to see low voter turnout. So I'm just going to ask each one of you as we close up, starting with Dana, moving to Angela, Danny, and Mr. Lewis, to give just a 1 second or 30 second to 1 minute recap on what you want the listeners to know about this campaign, win, lose, or draw. What is the best thing that you want them to take away from Derek Wallace for Orange County Commissioner, District 6? Dana, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think it's important to recognize that, like you indicated, win, lose, or draw, Derek is going to be in the community. He's remained in the community. He's going to be in there whether he wins this race or not. But I think what he's been able to bring to the table and what he's been criticized now for his vision and creativity and running a very effective campaign should give all those pause when he comes into the city commission, because that tells you he's going to be a man of his word. He's going to come with creativity and vision in representing the entire community.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chestnut, for spending your time this afternoon with me, as well as contributing time to Derek Wallace. He started first on the ballot. He was the first one to actually put his name out there, and he started the campaign a year ago. A lot of people said, you're starting too early, nobody's paying attention to voting, and historically, as African Americans, we always start campaigns 3-6 months in advance, and I'm glad that Derek has changed the game up with that. I think voting is something we need to talk about year-round. Candidates need to start earlier, work harder, raise more money, take care of their volunteers. Nobody is ashamed for the resources that Derek has spent on his volunteers as well as his consultants, and I think more candidates need to do the same and take care of the people who take care of them. So thank you so much, Mr. Chestnut. If you can just wait right there while I go through everyone's recap, but thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Angela, if you can give me, same thing, a 1-minute recap on what you want people to take away from this with this campaign and voting on Tuesday, August 26th.
When Derek first told me that he was going to run, I was real hesitant. But then when I saw the candidates that he was up against, I said, I'm all in. I'm all in. Whatever you need me to do, I'm here to help. And the reason that I said that, I've known Derek since he was in 11th grade, and all I know about him is his integrity, his leadership, how he gives selflessly. And he is such a kind-hearted person, and he's not doing it for himself, because if he just did it for himself or for name recognition, that would be one thing, but it's for the love of the people. He loved the people of District 6. And as one of the callers said, he stayed in District 6. And as you said, he could have moved anywhere. He could have been in Ellsworth. He could have been in Kings Point. But no, he stayed in District 6. And with what we have had for the past 8 years or more, I would say past 16 years, we need someone that would speak up for us, someone with a voice and that people will listen to.
And let me ask you, why were you hesitant initially?
Well, I just didn't want him to be out there, and Derek had run another race and was unsuccessful in that race, and I didn't want that to happen to him. I just didn't want him to have to go through that, because I think he deserved better. He should have won that race as it was. However, I did not want anything like that to happen to him. But when he started putting this team together and he started with the social media, I was like, oh, we're in it to win it.
All right, well, thank you for that honest answer. There is a lot that you have to sacrifice, personally sacrifice, family on the line, resources, energy, time with running for office. So I appreciate that honest feedback. And as a candidate myself, only for a couple of months, those are the very reasons why I decided to get off the ballot. So, Angela, what you're saying is very true. And I felt that I was way too authentic to run for office, because I'm not one to run for prom queen and to tell people what they want to hear and tell them, what feels good. And Derek being such a outspoken and straight up person, I myself wondered how would he fit, into that candidate script that voters are accustomed to looking at. And the benefit that Derek has is having supporters like yourself who have known him all of his life, that can step forward and speak for him, because as a candidate, there are times when your volunteers and your consultants and your friends and your family need to speak up for you. And I can personally say that's been very hard for Derek throughout his campaign.
Yes, absolutely.
Wanting to address people and issues and slander, and that's been a hard challenge for him, because he is somebody that does not waver or on his words. One thing about Derek, you'll never be confused how he feels. So
exactly.
For all of us, that's been hard, for him to have to step back and actually let us fight his battle. So thank you so much, Angela, for joining in on the line with me. Mm-hmm.
And with me being a resident of District 6, I look at the candidates that are out there, and no one, not one of them will speak up like Derek will.
Well, it makes a difference when you don't have anything to lose. One of the things
right.
that they negative about is money. Well, there's probably the highest level of elected official in Orange County that I know that holds the highest title to date. Told me at lunch the worst thing you want to do is run and be a broke candidate, because a broke candidate is a desperate candidate, and a desperate candidate is one who doesn't serve the people well. So until people know how politics really works, is when we'll start to shift on what we should actually see in our political leaders. So thank you so much, Angela, for joining me. Please stay on the line just a couple of seconds. Danny, I'm going to go ahead and go to you. I know you're busy this afternoon driving around, so I certainly want to thank you again for taking out your time. If you can give us a quick recap on what you want people to take away from this and what they should take to them to the polls on August 26th.
Thank you again for accepting my call here. I'd like to say that too much is given, much is required. So if Mr. Wallace can do the same, he can do the same hard work to raise his company and build his company up. He would do the same for District 6 also. So I know he's the right candidate for this position, and he's a leader, and he's a person of integrity, and he's a person that loves the people of Orlando. So I know that he'll step up and do what is right for each and every one of us here.
Well, I appreciate that. Straight and to the point, Mr. Lewis. Doesn't have to be a man of many words, just like Derek, to just be very clear. This is who you need in District 6 to fix. And again, I'm always trying to connect to the global message, that it is not just one district, one county, one city. It's one district, one county, one city, one state, one national effort in putting the leaders in place that we need. Obviously, with everything going around the country, there's stories popping up everywhere, with police issues and so forth. So we have to begin to understand that strong leaders are few and far between. And my goal is to continue to support strong leaders, no matter what county that they're in, with the resources that they need in order to move forward, because we can no longer wait on weaker leaders to get it. We have to find the strong ones and get the ones who are ready to be soldiers to fight the battle. So thank you so much, Danny, for joining me this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Lewis, Jones High, the infamous Jones High School. Wish I could go back in time and graduate from Jones so that possibly I could run for office. But since I cannot go back in time and come from Jones High School, give us our final recap on what the alumni of Jones High should take with them to the polls, and anyone else who's listening, about your candidate, Derek Wallace.
Class of 96 myself. It is an honor and a privilege to be in support of Mr. Derek Wallace. He's one of our own. He loves the community. He loves the people. He could have easily done this anywhere else or been anywhere else, but he chose this point, and a lot of leaders at times who should be leaders go ahead and move on and move out of, different situations. He's been one who has stood by and been calculating the right time and the right moment, and that I believe that moment is now. And I think that what he will be able to do in District 6 will just blow it out of the water and really do what his campaign is talking about, build that community. And he's done it time and time again in his personal life and I think we need to allow him to do it.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts on, I've watched a lot of candidates, not just in this race, but in other races, period, say I graduated Jones High, because that's an automatic stamp. What does that mean? Is it just graduating Jones High, or is it actually contributing to the mission of Jones High? And if people were contributors, should we not expect to see people come forward, such as yourself?
Yes, ma'am. It is very important, because to not only be an alumnus of Jones High School, but you need to give back. That's what we're taught since before we even attend the school, is that you start giving to the school before you even get there, and you never stop. And that's a lesson that people like Derek have taught younger folks as myself to do the same thing. So learning from, your forefathers, your parents, basically has helped shape me into the person I am, in that, I was able to go off to college and play in the NFL, and along the way never stop coming back, giving to Jones High School, because of the lessons that I've learned from people like Mr. Wallace.
Mm-hmm. And guess what, Mr. Lewis? We have a lot of Jones High stories in the tank. So rest assured, if there is a runoff on Tuesday and Mr. Wallace proceeds on to the general election, things will get nastier. Let me be very clear, because anytime there's a runoff and it's between two, it's been nasty before, but it's kind of been, behind closed doors and, posting scriptures online and then tearing people down behind closed doors. Candidates are afraid to speak up and say, what it really is in public. So rest assured, if we proceed to a general election, there will be more mud slinging, and one thing that I pride myself on is when mud is slinged, it can definitely be swung both ways. And with Derek being in construction, we certainly can, find plenty of dirt if necessary, to go across the line, and not in a negative way, but speaking very truthful. And so I've been very clear, and I know other opponents who are running against Derek and have known them, and I have no bad blood and no issue with anyone, and I'm actually usually the one who supports female candidates. That's my choice. I'd like to see more women in office. But at the same time, everyone, has an opportunity to, select who is the best person for that office. So I just want to be clear that these are many testimonies that will continue to come out. And so if opposition continues on with buying up the district and all of the negative innuendos that have been sent to Derek indirectly, we will be continuing on with this message, and it will only get louder and stronger. So I do want to thank you, Mr. Lewis, for chiming in and giving us that Jones High perspective. Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, for joining the show.
You're welcome, and thank you for accepting my call.
No problem. All right, everyone, you've been listening to the Tezlyn Figaro Show. This was a special edition for the Volunteer Shine campaign for Derek Shine Wallace. Thought it was important that his volunteers had an opportunity to shine for him. Derek's nickname is Shine because of his eyes at an early age. That has been misinterpreted as someone who has been negatively perceived as someone who's in the front and who wants to get a lot of shine. And it's my job to flip that message and to show you what the shine is really all about. And so the volunteers today, again, I want to thank Mr. Lewis, Danny Cummings, Angela Keene, and Dana Chestnut for joining in, as well as the volunteers on last week for telling their story, in addition to the 10 videos that we published, each and every one with a different story about Derek Wallace, from endorsements from former county and city commissioner, Commissioner Mabel Butler, to the historic testimonies from individuals such as Barbara Young, who's been a community stakeholder and a Jones High fighter all of her life, to individuals like Ms. Dunbar, who told her story on how Derek has helped her. The stories go on and on and on. They're countless. I encourage you to look at everyone's record across the board for the primary election on Tuesday, August 26th, not just with Orange County District 6, but at everyone's race. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be hosting the Political Juice where we will go through all of the races on Orange County, also talk about state politics and a little bit of national. My co-host tomorrow will join me, will be Randy Ross. You can hear this show again tomorrow at the same place, same time, www.tezlynfigaro.com. Tomorrow we'll be taking some calls at 347-327-9514. On Monday, I believe, I have a special edition on the Michael Brown issue, how we will connect that to former siblings' push for the baggy britches bill, as well as the stand your ground issue that Senator Sipling has certainly been pushing, which I am against and Senator Thompson is for. So thank you so much for joining us on the Tezlyn Figaro Show. Again, thank you for my guests. Good luck to all and everyone who is running for office. Congratulations to all campaign volunteers across the board. But today was Volunteer Shine Time, and I want to thank you for listening in. You can reach me again at www.tezlynfigaro.com. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Tezlyn Figaro.com.